Hey, I'm Evan Borster at Lens Pro To Go, and today I'm here with some things to know about the Sony FS7. The FS7 is Sony's most recent cinema camera, and exists somewhere in their lineup between the FS700 and the F5. It's designed with a somewhat ENG-style body and jam-packed full of features that are really impressive for its price point. It also manages to hold its own against other cameras which cost significantly more by having some really impressive features. One of the most impressive features of the FS7 is the ability to record 4K footage up to 60 frames per second internally without the need for an external recorder. The camera records to Sony XQD cards using the Sony XAVC codec, which is a very efficient file format for 4K. Each 128GB card will get you over an hour of 4K recording. Sony continues to lead the race for affordable high-speed cameras, giving the FS7 the ability to record up to 180 frames per second in HD on top of the 60p and 4K that I already mentioned. The 180 frame per second footage looks really good. I didn't find there were any significant issues with artifacts or moire when you switch to high speed mode. I know Sony has gotten a lot of flack over the years for their color science, but I think they've really made a big improvement with S-Log3. The dynamic range is awesome at 14 stops, and even when we were shooting in the desert in midday sun, the FS7 held details from highlights to shadows super well. The base ISO of the FS7 is 2000. This camera's great in low light. I shot from 2000 to 8000 ISO and was happy with the footage. Obviously, if you're shooting outdoors, you need a lot of ND to shoot wide open at ISO 2000, so I would consider bringing extra ND on top of the internal filters. The FS7 uses the Sony E-mount system for lenses, which is both a perk and a quirk. The E-mount is easily adapted to fit many other lenses due to short flange distance. This means that you can get an adapter for anything from EF to PL to B4 lenses for this camera. You can also put a Metabone speed booster on the FS7, allowing you to mount EF lenses to the camera and functionally giving it a full frame sensor. The ergonomics of this camera are a giant step up from the messy design of the FS700. Buttons are in logical places, the hand grip feels great, and the camera feels great on your shoulder. There are lots of little things that make me love operating this camera. The built-in ND filters are awesome, and the wheel you use to activate them even feels great. The batteries are really well designed, and they last a really long time. My only real ergonomic issue is that the whole setup is actually just a little bit small for a guy my size, but the Zacuto recoil rig fixed that for me very quickly. The FS7 has a lot of what I'd call quirks. They aren't necessarily big issues, and you generally get used to them, but they can throw you off at first. I'm going to quickly run through some of them. Your white balance and ISO are set using 3-position switches. To dial in specific white balances or ISO, you have to go into the menu and change what a switch setting represents. When you're in custom mode, you cannot use monitor LUTs, which are similar to View Assist on a C100. So if you're shooting S-Log, you're looking at S-Log in the EVF unless you use a third-party EVF like the Zacuto Gratical. The HDMI out will not send an HD signal to a monitor while recording 4K, so you need to use SDI. If you want to switch between 4K 24p and HD 180 frames per second, you have to go into the menus and change a couple settings to make that switch, so frequently jumping back and forth on set can be a pain. The camera has 2 modes that fundamentally change a lot of ways the camera operates, called Custom and Cine EI. When you switch between those modes, you gain a lot of settings and you lose a lot of settings. To be honest, the details of exactly how every setting interacts with every other setting is beyond the scope of this video. I highly recommend Doug Jensen's FS7 Masterclass for really detailed information on all the settings. You can find a link to it in the description below. I know that may sound like a lot, but honestly you get used to most of it pretty quickly once you start shooting. Overall, the FS7 is probably the best bang for your buck camera out there right now. Whether shooting documentaries or full production commercials, the FS7 has all the features you need to make beautiful content. You can rent an FS7 and all the accessories you need, such as the Gratical and recoil rig, from lensprotogo.com. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to give us a call or email us at service@lensprotogo.com. Thanks!